The first rule of Fight Club is, you do not talk about Fight Club. But what if the most important rule isn't spoken because it can't be? What if the core of that story wasn't about violence or rebellion, but about surrender? In Fight Club, the narrator's life is a perfect chaos of control. IKEA furniture catalogs, PowerPoint meetings, self-help routines. The more he tries to define himself, the more he disintegrates, until he lets go, literally and metaphorically, and falls into a strange kind of freedom. It's only when he stops resisting, when he gives up control, that he begins to truly live. That's the law of reversed effort. The same paradox that whispers, the more you try to sleep, the more awake you become. The more you try to be loved, the more distant love feels. The more you try to be free, the more imprisoned you feel. Imagine a man falling into a calm, yet deep river. He knows how to swim, but panic takes over. He flails his arms, kicks desperately, trying to grasp the air, as if it were a rope. The more he struggles, the more he sinks. The water, which would float his body if he simply relaxed, becomes his enemy. The more you try to control, the more control you lose. The more you strain, the more distant the goal becomes. In the early 20th century, British thinker Aldous Huxley articulated this idea with a seemingly simple phrase: the harder we try with the conscious will to do something, the less we shall succeed. The drowning swimmer is not weak. He just believes he must fight to float. But floating is the water's natural gift to a relaxed body. Desperate effort is a form of fear disguised as courage, and that's what we do every day. We try to force sleep as if it were a logical equation, but sleep is surrender, not conquest. It slips in when we stop chasing it. It is the gift of stillness, not the reward of strain. We try to love with strategies and formulas, as if love were a game to be won. But love is born in the pauses between words, in the safety of vulnerability, not in the perfection of performance. We try to be creative by sitting in front of a blank screen, commanding inspiration to appear. But creativity is like a wild bird. It lands on your shoulder when you're not looking, not when you're shouting its name. We strive for happiness with checklists and goals, unaware that happiness is not found by climbing toward it, but by sinking into the present. Eastern philosophy has warned us for centuries, the Tao cannot be grasped. Lao Tzu wrote, "He who clings loses." And in Stoicism, Epictetus reminds us, some things are within our control, others are not. Wisdom lies in knowing the difference. But what do? We confuse control with responsibility, will with rigidity, movement with progress. We see stillness as failure, passivity as weakness. There is a silent violence in excessive trying. We want something so badly that we become the obstacle to its arrival. It's like trying to force open a flower with your hands. You might manage to peel back the petals, but you destroy the essence in the process. Even water, when grasped, slips through your fingers. But if you open your hands, it pools peacefully in your palm. In a curious experiment, neuroscientists discovered that attempting to deliberately forget something actually activates the same brain regions involved in memory. The act of trying to forget reinforces the memory. This is the paradox at the heart of the human mind. Forgetfulness requires release. Sleep requires surrender. Love requires presence. Creativity requires permission and inner peace. It appears when we stop declaring war on our own thoughts. We were never taught how to let go. Society trains us to pursue, to achieve, to conquer. Productivity is praised. Rest is guilt. Silence is awkward. And surrender, it is seen as weakness. But what if surrender was the wisest move of all? Alan Watts, a philosopher who bridged Eastern and Western thought, often spoke of this reversed logic. When you try to stay on the surface of the water, you sink. But when you try to sink, you float. He called it the backwards law. The idea that the more you pursue feeling better all the time, the less satisfied you become. The more you chase self-improvement, the more you reinforce the belief that you're not good enough. You can see this in daily life. The more you try to impress someone, the more insincere you appear. The more you force yourself to relax, the more tense you become. The more you chase pleasure, the more fleeting it feels. This isn't a call to passivity. It's a call to alignment. Effort has its place. Discipline has its purpose. But when effort becomes obsession, when striving becomes survival, something within us breaks. The seed grows not by effort, but by allowing. A tree doesn't stretch itself taller each day with willpower. It grows because the conditions allow it. So ask yourself, what are you trying too hard to control? If this is making sense to you so far, if some part of this feels familiar in your bones, maybe it's time to join others walking this path. Subscribe. It helps keep this space alive. Now back to the river. The man didn't need to fight. He needed to float. He needed to trust. But trust isn't easy when all we've learned is to strive. We live in a culture of constant acceleration, hustle culture. No pain, no gain. Grind now, rest later. But later never comes. And in this endless race, we miss the very thing we're racing toward. The most beautiful moments of your life didn't happen because you forced them. They came quietly, unexpectedly. The laughter with a friend at midnight, the idea that popped into your head while brushing your teeth, the calm that washed over you when you finally stopped trying to fix everything. You didn't earn these moments, you received them, and maybe that's the point. Let's take this even deeper. What if trying to be happy is the reason you're not? What if trying to find peace is what keeps you anxious? What if the self you're trying so hard to become is already here, waiting beneath the layers of effort and expectation? Letting go doesn't mean giving up, it means making space. In Zen there is a concept called wu-wei, effortless action. It doesn't mean laziness, it means acting in harmony with the flow of life, rather than against it. It means knowing when to try, and when to stop, because some doors open only when you stop knocking. So here's a question to carry with you. What might happen if you stopped forcing, stopped fixing, proving, striving? Who might you become in the space that opens? Let's add a real-world story to this idea. A story not of surrender as weakness, but of surrender as mastery. Josh Allen, quarterback of the Buffalo Bills. On June 6th in New Orleans, the city where echoes of past Super Bowl battles still vibrate in the bones of old stadium seats, Allen was named the NFL's most valuable player for the 2024-25 season. The lights were bright, the cameras ready. He had outshined heavy contenders like Lamar Jackson, a feat few predicted with certainty. But here's the part most headlines won't tell you. Josh Allen didn't start this season trying to be MVP. In fact, what shifted his game wasn't more effort, it was a new kind of trust. Early in his career, Allen was known for overextending, trying too hard, forcing throws, pushing plays, trying to be the hero every single down. And the more he pushed, the more interceptions came. The more he strained to prove his worth, the more mistakes compounded. He later said in interviews that he had to learn to let the game come to him, to trust his instincts, to trust his teammates, to stop gripping the ball like it held his entire legacy in its leather seams. When he stopped trying to be perfect, he became extraordinary. When he stopped chasing the MVP, he became one. That's the law of reversed effort in motion. In real life, success isn't always about the grind. Sometimes it's about surrendering to the flow you've spent years preparing to enter. Josh Allen still trains like a beast, still studies the game obsessively, but in those final moments, the crucial 3 and long, the collapsing pocket, what carries him is not effort. It's ease, it's rhythm, it's trust. And that's what we're missing when we over-effort our way through life. You can train, prepare, plan, but when the moment arrives, will you meet it with desperation or grace? This story isn't just about football, it's about everything. It's about knowing when to shift from force to flow, from panic to presence. Because maybe, just maybe, you're closer than you think. You don't need to sprint, you need to release, and trust that the current, if you stop fighting it, might take you exactly where you were always meant to be. Remember, the flower blooms when the sun rises, not when it is pulled. The heart opens when it feels safe, not when it is commanded. And peace arrives when you stop chasing it. Let that sink in. Maybe, just maybe, the way forward isn't forward at all. Maybe it's inward, and still, and quiet. Reflect. And if this spoke to something deep within you, subscribe. Let's walk this strange, beautiful paradox together.